Alright, how's it going, guys? Welcome to this tutorial for the Personal Assistant Macro Maker program, or PAMM for short. So this is a program that I developed to be able to teach your computer how to do just common tasks that you do on your device, such as opening your email, or maybe switching between tools in graphic design software. It works by recording your actions, such as clicking and typing, and then it can recreate those actions through verbal commands. So in this first tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use PAMM to create a custom macro. And for those of you who don't know, a macro is just it's another word for a command that does a certain number of steps. So we're going to record our first macro here by clicking the Create Macro button from the home menu. And it's going to display some instructions for you in case you ever forget stuff from this tutorial. So once you start recording, there's going to be a beep, and after you hear that, you know you're ready to start working on stuff. So PAMM will record left clicks and dragging, but that doesn't include double clicks with this current version. It can also record right clicks, typing, everything except multimedia keys. So multimedia keys are generally found at the top of your keyboard, and they do things like turning on your Wi-Fi or adjusting the volume of your sounds or changing the brightness of your screen, things like that. So those are the only keys that it doesn't record with this version, but everything else is fair game. And then it can also record clicking and typing combinations, so shift clicking, control click, things like that. So for our first macro, I figured we'd do something really simple, just like opening Netflix on your web browser. That's a common task that like a lot of people do in this day and age. So we're going to start off by opening, just open an internet browser. I'm going to be using Chrome. And you always start your macro from wherever you plan to use it. So here, whenever I want PAMM to open Netflix for me, I'm going to have Chrome open already. So I'm going to start there. And then I'm just going to click the Start Recording button. Then you'll hear a beep. And then you know to go ahead and start. So I'm going to click here. And then I'm going to start typing. So Netflix. And then press enter. Once you're done with the macro, you say finish recording. And then if it doesn't pop up immediately, you should see the little PAMM icon here at the bottom, which will show that it stopped recording. And PAMM will ask you to enter a name for the macro. So this is the verbal command you're going to use to run it in the future. So it has to be English words, no special characters, anything like that. So let's go ahead and just call this open up Netflix. So the reason I chose this particular example is to show some words, when you try to use them, don't exist in the dictionary of the program. And so it'll actually pop that up for you. Here it shows these words are not in the dictionary. So in this version of PAMM, Netflix is not in the program dictionary. But there are ways that you could work around this. So you just have to, you can think of other English words that you can use. So like Netflix, since that's an English word. And then that'll be able to work like that. Okay, so after you've set a name for it, you have a couple options here for settings for your macro. So the first slider bar is the seconds in delay between clicking actions. So if your machine's a little slower, it takes time to process stuff, you're like opening a browser or going to a website, you'll probably want to set it with a greater delay so that you give your machine time to process the command. But this is a pretty easy command, so I'm going to go ahead and just set it to 0. And then the second setting is to make the mouse invisible, and all that means is if you don't have this checkbox marked, then you'll notice the mouse will glide from spot to spot wherever you click. But here in this situation, I'm going to make that. If you do have it checked, it will just automatically jump from one place to the next without gliding. So then we could go ahead and test out our macro with these settings. Alright, so now if I go ahead and test the macro with the settings, it types in netflix.com and goes to the site. So we've tested the macro, it works as expected. So now we're going to go ahead and save. And then now, if you go to your macro list, we have here open up Netflix. So once you've saved it, you can then at any time go ahead and access it through the assistant mode, which we will have another tutorial covering this later. Then if I want to run the command, I just say, hey there, PAMM, open up Netflix. And then it runs the command. So there's many different ways you could play around with this to do different things, but that is the basic setup for recording your macros and then being able to run them. In future tutorials, I'll show you certain shortcut tips and tricks that you can use to make PAMM more efficient in making sure it works correctly each time. And so thanks for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.